a duet game is like one dungeon master and one player. And so that's what I did with my wife for about a year as we learned the rules. And is it difficult? Yeah. Yeah. There are not that many times that I ever went past 90 minutes tops with one player, just because you move through so much, right? Even a single back and forth, if they're in a combat scenario, that's only usually a couple different characters, and it's back and forth, and it's going to resolve itself pretty quickly. I got started. I think so. I am 38 now. I started looking into it when I was like 30, 31. My wife and I were really into board games, and we wanted to sort of try D&D. And so I started watching like Critical Role and trying to get a sense for it. And then once I felt like I was into, like I kind of got the gist of it, we did sort of a duet game for about a year to sort of learn the rules. So I would say I've been pretty hooked since then. I mean, not really that long, especially running group games. I didn't start running group games until a year after that. Not definitely not long as some people. Yeah, it was really my wife's insistence. I just kept kind of shrugging, like, we don't know anybody. How are we supposed to get into it? We got to find a game. Like, I don't know enough to run a game. And then eventually I was like, okay, I guess I need to learn enough about it to be able to run a game. And then we don't have it. I don't have that excuse. I am, yeah. I'll play too, and I've played a little bit. I probably have one uh 20th the time as a player versus as a dungeon master, but um I just have way too much fun being a dungeon master. I'm not sure. Uh, like I understand that people would. Well, I understand in theory that people would want to mix it up and try other stuff. It's just like, but from my perspective, it's the best. It's like I was describing earlier. It's like being a magician. It's like I imagine it'd be really difficult to. You can sit in the audience and enjoy another magician, but at the same time, it's a little bit. It's like, well, a certain type of magic is lost always. Like you can still have fun. It's still great, but you can't beat that hit. You can't beat the feeling of like pulling those tricks off. Like you know, that's the good stuff. Was doing a duet game difficult. So, and duet, just to be clear, is like some people call it a solo game. Technically, I think a pure solo game is like it's just you playing D&D on your own. And there are ways to do that. A duet game is like one dungeon master and one player. And so that's what I did with my wife for about a year as we learned the rules. And is it difficult? Yeah. Yeah. I'm really happy that that's how I learned, because I feel like so the thing about running for one player, and you don't have to do a duet game to run for one player. I like to do little prologue sessions and individual time with the players in the games that I run. Here and there, not all the time, but here and there where it makes sense. I'm okay if they split the party. That could be fun. But the thing about running for one person is that the best way I know how to describe it is that as a dungeon master, there's nowhere to hide. So in a typical group session, you're going to have your prep work and you're going to have some notes in front of you. You're going to have stuff that you're thinking about for the session. And then there are all these wonderful little gaps built into the normal social interaction of playing D&D with people. As you get started, people are socializing and talking amongst themselves. That gives you time to, okay, yep, double check. I've got other stuff. Okay, I'm going to say that. Okay, and here's how we get started, right? When they're given things to do, if you've got 4 or 5 players, you might have 5, 6, or 7 ideas about what they want to do about a topic. So they're going to have to hash it out and pick if that gives you more time to think. If even somebody does something awesome, everybody's going to sort of want to revel in that and celebrate that in the moment. That's going to give you more time to think. Even just running combat, initiative order, or depending on what system you're playing, however you're taking turns going around the table, players are never that fast. That gives you time to think. So the number one difference between running for a group and running for one person is that one person doesn't have to. Well, first of all, there's nobody to socialize with except for you. So if you're socializing, well, you're not able to think, right? Because you're in the midst of a thing, and like that's distracting too. They don't have to ask anybody about their decision making. Sometimes they might not even verbalize their decision making. They might just act act, decision, say thing. Uh, and you end up in a situation where you'll move through so much more material, and in my experience, players really enjoy the experience. It's an addictive thing because you rarely have that much like one-on-one improv with another person. Usually it's sort of distributed throughout a campaign or throughout sessions, and in a one-on-one situation, it's just a lot more immediate. I find that I can probably think there are not that many times that I ever went past 90 minutes tops with one player, just because you move through so much, right? Even a single back and forth, if they're in a combat scenario, that's only usually a couple different characters, and it's back and forth and back and forth, and it's going to resolve itself pretty quickly. It also combat works completely differently in a sense. Um, so learning D&D that way, and it wasn't quite as bad as I describe it with like combat and things like that, because my wife's character had a companion, so she kind of controlled two characters during combat. That gave us a little bit more flexibility, but most of what I said was still the same case, and I had to learn. I think I had to work through a lot of my mistakes a lot faster than I would. Like I would have been able to hide them a lot better in group settings from the very beginning. It would have taken longer for me to have to face them and be like, okay, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out how to deal with, these kind of rough edges. So it's more difficult, but it's in a good way. I think if you want to really push yourself as a dungeon master, it's worth trying and finding out what it's like to run for one person and how it changes your game, because it does. It changes the game. I think it becomes a lot more you become a lot more connected, and it becomes more intimate for the character, right? If you're running a big lofty campaign, you could do all these things, but if you're running a solo experience, or if you're running an experience for one character, for one player character, that entire session might be about how they deal with a nightmare, like a dream sequence. It might be an entire training session with a mentor. It might be, like there's all these things that would never probably play in a larger group. So I think it's worth the trade off. It's just the real question is, would I ever? Uh, it would be interesting to try to tackle solo play in a short campaign, to do like a 10 session solo play game. I might try to do that again sometime. I don't know if I would try to do a year long or really long campaign again, but something smaller could be really fun. It is, exactly. Yes. Trial by fire. Yeah. But fun. Definitely fun. Man, the biggest help that I had for um for running those sessions then was Matt Colville has one or two really good videos about solo play. And it's something I want to talk more about too, because it's one of my favorite aspects of the game anytime I get a chance to do it. We've even talked about, for some of the stuff that I'm working on, that it might be fun to sort of create or look at what it would take to sort of have a variant of some of like my one shots and modules that I'm working on that is fitting for maybe just a couple people, or even like a solo play type of thing. Because I think it is possible.